On my 29th birthday, my husband gave me a bottle of perfume. I sprayed it without looking carefully and ended up in the emergency room due to an allergic shock. After surviving the ordeal, Ethan Walker came to visit me in the hospital room with his childhood sweetheart, carrying a flower basket. I calmly asked for a divorce. The childhood sweetheart rushed forward to shield him, tearfully apologizing to me. "Grace, don't blame Walker. Giving you the perfume was my idea. I just thought the scent would suit you." Ethan pulled her into an embrace to comfort her and said to me with extreme impatience, "Don't regret it. Goodbye, Ethan." We met again a month later. After being discharged from the hospital, I returned to the apartment to recuperate before going back to the villa. The nanny told me that Ethan only came back once after I was hospitalized and hasn't returned since. I wasn't surprised at all. He has more than one home. He and Emma have another place together. I took the USB drive to the study and printed out the divorce papers. I signed 2 copies and then called Ethan. It was late at night when he returned, carrying a gift bag in his hand. Upon entering and seeing me on the sofa, he casually gave instructions: "Make me a hangover soup." I had dinner with Chairman Chen and the others tonight, drank quite a bit, and my stomach hurts a little. After saying that, he threw the bag on the sofa, went straight upstairs to the bedroom, took a shower, changed into pajamas, and then came back down. Seeing that I hadn't touched the bag on the sofa, he handed it to me. "A belated birthday gift for you." I didn't take it, so she placed the bag on my lap. I stood up and set it aside. "Aren't you going to see what's inside?" I twitched the corner of my mouth but couldn't manage a smile. Raising my eyes to look at him, I thought, such gift bags, we have countless at home. What's inside? There's no need for me to look. Ever since we got married and had children, he's never put any thought into gifts. If it's not skincare products, it's bags. If not bags, then jewelry. Even the bags he bought were all of similar styles, and the jewelry designs were much the same. When buying me gifts, I wonder if it even took him 3 minutes. He didn't notice that sometimes I wouldn't open the gifts he gave me until half a year later. Only that bottle of perfume stood out. Its packaging was completely different. I sprayed it after opening, but I regretted it the moment it came out. It was made from roses, and I'm allergic to roses, can't even stand the scent. I picked up the pre-prepared divorce papers from the coffee table and handed them to him. "This is the divorce agreement I had the lawyer draft. Take a look, and if there are no issues, sign it." He froze for a moment, hesitating to take it, and asked me, "Are you making the hangover soup?" "Let me check." I let him get up and walk toward the kitchen. He came out shortly after, his face dark. "You didn't cook. Tired. Don't want to move." Perhaps his stomach really hurt. He pressed a hand against it and then sat down on the sofa. I pretended not to see, as he moved to my side, wrapped his arm around my waist, and softly apologized. "Grace, this time it's my fault. I've been too busy. That's why I had Emma help prepare your gift. How about this? I'll book a restaurant, and we'll make up for your birthday tomorrow." "Okay." I shook my head at him, reached out to peel his hand away, and moved a bit further. His face turned ashen. "Why? Just because of this bottle of perfume?" Between him and me, it's not because of this bottle of perfume, it's because the author stopped writing. The sweet story has ended. He had other thoughts, and I had my own ideas. We are no longer the male and female leads who exist just to be sweet. The day after getting married, I regained my memories. Turns out, I'm the female lead in a sweet romance novel, fair-skinned, beautiful, with long legs and a great figure, a top student and campus belle with an aloof demeanor. Except for one thing, I'm allergic to roses. Meanwhile, Ethan is the male lead in the book, handsome and cold, prone to stomachaches, and spoils me in every way. We had an overwhelmingly sweet 4-year romance in college. After the graduation party, we got a hotel room. Ethan lost control, and we ended up with a baby. My morning sickness was severe. Ethan felt so sorry for me that he told me not to work and promised to support both me and our child. The pregnancy was tough. Ethan scolded the baby in my belly, telling Adams not to torment me, or he'd spank him after birth. Not long after I regained my memories, Emma Davis returned from studying abroad. I joined the Walker Group and became Ethan's executive assistant. It was only then that I learned Emma's parents and Ethan's parents were old friends. After Emma's parents passed away, The Walker family took her in. They were childhood sweethearts who grew up together, and Emma had always liked Ethan. As for me, it was at this time that I first learned of Emma's existence. This character didn't appear in the sweet romance story, they appeared after the sweet story ended, but I can't blame Emma. Because she had already expressed her admiration to Ethan long ago, Ethan knew her feelings yet kept her by his side. His true intentions remain unknown. During my pregnancy, they went on business trips together, drank together, and attended high school reunions together. At first, when I got jealous, Ethan would just laugh it off and tease me. Later, when I stopped bringing it up, Emma quietly stood between us, and she still does to this day. Now he asks if I'm bringing up divorce because of this bottle of perfume. I suddenly feel somewhat pathetic. This bottle of perfume is just the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Ethan, I've wanted a divorce for a long time. Ethan frowned, his gaze towards me icy cold. Grace, have you fallen for someone else? On'T Adams. I was just about to call him crazy when he suddenly pounced, pinning me down on the sofa. Ethan, no. I struggled to push him away, but his entire body was pressing down on me, making it impossible to move him. Seeing his hand reach down, I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. With that slap, he stopped his actions. His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at me, filled with a hint of ferocity. Grace, don't forget you're still my wife. Am I not even allowed to touch you now? The thought of a dilation and curettage procedure made my whole body tremble. I find it disgusting. He met my gaze, and I didn't back down an inch. Finally, he got off me and slid down onto the carpet, letting out a self-deprecating laugh. So that's why. No wonder you wanted a divorce. Who is it? I didn't speak. Ethan grabbed the coat from the couch, slung it over his shoulder, and headed for the door. Grace, if you think about divorce, you're dreaming. You'd better hide well. If I find out who it is, I'll kill him. I watched his back as he was about to leave. A sharp pain pierced my heart. I called out to stop him. Ethan. He stopped in his tracks but did not turn around. I asked him, do you love me? He remained silent, and I continued, if you loved me, would you keep Emma, who has liked you for many years, by your side? If you loved me, would you let the old lady take my son away from me and bring him abroad? Ethan, from the day you agreed to let the old lady take our child away, I began doubting your so-called love. Ethan finally turned to look at me slowly, his eyes filled with confusion. Back then, we let Mom take our son because we wanted some time alone as a couple, didn't we? That was your wish, not mine. The child I carried for 10 months, I wouldn't send him so far away just for some couple time. That's not the kind of person I am. He shook his head slightly. Didn't we also agree to have a second baby? I suddenly laughed. I lost the baby. I went into anaphylactic shock from perfume, and the baby was miscarried. Ethan's expression couldn't be described as just unpleasant. Why didn't you tell me when I went to the hospital last time? He confronted me. I was planning to tell you on the night of my birthday, but you didn't come, and you sent Emma with the perfume instead. Ethan, what good would it do for the hospital to tell you? He was silent for a long time before saying quietly, we can have another child. No, Ethan. Let's get a divorce. If I don't get divorced, I don't know what I might do next. I walked over to him with the divorce papers. Sign it. After taking them, he asked me, what about you, Grace? Do you still love me? I let go. Was it this time, or long ago? I didn't speak. He said, it was long ago. You stopped clinging to me. When I traveled for work, you no longer told me to be careful. When I drank, you no longer told me to drink less. When I didn't come home, the longest stretch was when I was on a business trip to Moscow. I waited 10 days, and you didn't send me a single message, just like tonight, when my stomach hurt. You could easily ignore it, Grace. You stopped loving me first. I don't cling to you because every time you're surrounded by Emma, there's no place for me. I stopped asking about your business trips because Emma would post your photos together. I don't tell you to drink less because you're taking drinks for Emma. When you went to Moscow for business, I didn't message you for 10 days because you and Emma were dancing passionately in a bar. I didn't want to disturb you. As for tonight, I truly don't love you anymore, Ethan. I've made room for Emma. I wish you both happiness. Ethan clutched the divorce agreement tightly, his eyes bloodshot as he watched me tear it to shreds before storming out the door. I asked the nanny to clean up the crumbs and went to the study to print 10 copies at once. An hour later, I came across Emma's social media post. Ethan was lying on the bed asleep, and she took a selfie sitting on the edge of the bed. The caption read, "The one I love has never learned to love himself. If you don't love him, can't you just let go? Why torment him?" Holding those 10 divorce agreements, I drove toward Emma's house. I knocked on Emma's door. "Sister Grace, what brings you here?" As Emma's voice faded, the laughter in the living room also stopped abruptly. I looked toward the living room and saw my son sitting on the sofa playing with toys, while Ethan's mother sat beside him. In an instant, my blood boiled with rage. I looked at my son and asked, Chen, when did you and Grandma come back?" He looked at me as if I were a stranger and didn't say a word. Suppressing all my impulses, I walked over to him and reached out to hug him, only to see him run fearfully toward Emma, shouting, "Mommy, who is this auntie?" I glanced at the old lady, my face full of disapproval, then looked at Emma, who seemed somewhat guilty but still picked up the child, murmuring repeatedly, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." At that moment, my heart was bleeding. I stopped paying attention to the child and instead asked Emma, "Ethan, where is he?" "Walker is asleep. I saw your social media post and knew he was asleep. Which room is he in?" Emma pursed her lips and pointed to a door. I quickly walked over, entered the room, turned on the light, and locked the door behind me. Ethan was indeed asleep. On the nightstand stood a glass and a photo frame containing a picture of Emma holding their child with him, a family of 3. What a truth! Looking at the unused pillow beside me, I really wanted to smother the person in front of me to death, and even that wouldn't be enough to quell the hatred in my heart. But I have to live. It's not worth losing my life over someone like this. I raised my hand and slapped him 4 times in quick succession, left and right Ethan before he woke up. He looked at me in shock and demanded, "Grace, what's gotten into you?" I scratched his face twice more, watching as red beads of blood slowly welled up from the marks on his snow-white skin. "Ethan, you ask me why I'm acting crazy." I grabbed the photo album and slammed it against the corner of the cabinet. The glass shattered, and I pulled out the photos, tearing them to pieces. Suddenly, the voice of Walker calling out came from outside. "Daddy, Daddy, open the door." Ethan seemed to slowly come back to his senses as he straightened up in his seat. "Grace, I can explain this. Mom just came back yesterday, and I was planning to tell you at tomorrow night's family gathering." As I listened to his words, my eyes instantly welled up uncontrollably, tears falling like beans. Why did Chen call Emma Mom? He's the child I carried for 10 months. How dare he call someone else Mom? "Ethan, is this how you show your love for me?" Ethan clenched his jaw and looked up at me. "About this matter, come back to the old house tomorrow evening, and I'll give you an explanation." "I'll be waiting for your explanation." As I stepped out of the room, Walker stood at the door, the child nervous about Ethan, eyeing me with some wariness. I am so unwilling, and so full of hatred. I wiped the tears from my face and slowly crouched down in front of the child, forcing myself to smile. Chen, I am your mom. You grew up in my belly, and the doctor took you out of it. There's still a mark on my belly." The child looked at me in confusion, and I said softly, "If you don't believe me, ask your dad. Am I not your mom?" The child called out softly, "Ethan." Ethan hadn't even spoken yet when the old lady sternly warned, "Ethan, don't forget what you promised me." Ethan ultimately didn't open his mouth to speak. The old lady coaxed the child, saying, "Come to Grandma." The child had been raised by the old lady for years and was naturally closest to her. Hearing her words, the child walked over to her. I chuckled lightly and stood up nonchalantly, facing Emma. "You don't need to be in such a hurry. I'm currently discussing the divorce with Ethan. I've already signed the papers." But he tore them to shreds. "See, I've printed 10 more copies and brought them with me. If I hadn't seen the old lady and my son here, I would have asked for your help with the divorce. What a pity. Right now, I'd rather watch you two become infamous." After saying that, I stuffed the documents back into my bag and left Emma's house. I called my best friend who was abroad in country. "It's very late over there. Why aren't you asleep yet? Anyan, I need to ask you for a favor." "What is it?" I told her about calling my son Emma Mom. and she was so angry she started cursing. Help me find a detective to investigate her study abroad experience in country M and see if anything unusual happened. Leave it to me. I'll find someone to look into it right away. I'm so angry. How can someone be so despicable? By noon the very next day, my inbox was flooded with videos and photos. In the video, Emma attended a group party while pregnant. Later, she miscarried and suffered severe bleeding, resulting in the removal of her uterus. She could never bear children in this lifetime. I printed out the photos and placed them in my bag along with the divorce papers, after a moment's thought. I also stuffed a hammer into the bag. With everything prepared, Ethan came to pick me up for the old house. A band-aid covered the scraped area on his face. We sat in silence, facing each other. The atmosphere in the old house was somber. I don't know if Ethan did something last night. Walker-Chen timidly called me Mom when he saw me this morning. I smiled and patted his head. Good boy, Chen. Emma came in from outside. Walker ran towards her excitedly and called out, Davis Mom. The small sense of relief I had just felt, the plan I had just suppressed, surged back up again. I looked coldly at Emma. The elderly woman came in and saw us in a standoff, saying sternly, Everyone go sit down, it's time to eat. When Ethan and I entered, the chairs were all empty. I casually pulled one out and sat down. Emma entered but hesitated to sit down, pretending to be at a loss for words, until Ethan's sister came in. She glanced at the troubled and snapped at me, Miss Adams. No matter how many years you've been married into this family, you should at least learn some table manners. Don't make yourself look so uncultured. Ethan turned to Walker with a cold tone. Who gave you the right to speak about my wife? Walker's expression darkened, and she retorted sarcastically, Your wife. Who in this family acknowledges her? We told you to marry Emma, but you refused and brought this thing home instead, and now we're not even allowed to say anything, Adams. Ethan's expression suddenly changed. It seems I've been too lenient lately. Walker's husband tugged at her sleeve, and she reluctantly fell silent, not daring to speak further. I let out a light laugh and looked up at Walker. Miss Walker, do you think Miss Davis is more refined than I am? Walker glared at me without responding. I laughed again and said loudly, Indeed, someone from a modest background like me would never dare to attend a group gathering while pregnant, right Emma? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expressions changed drastically, except for the Walker couple, the old lady, Emma, and Ethan. Grace, what nonsense are you spouting? Amid the old lady's sharp rebuke, I actually called for Nanny Liu to come in. Please take Chen to the living room to play for a while. Nanny Liu looked at Ethan, and only after seeing him nod did she take the child away. I closed the door, grabbed a handful of photos from my bag, and slammed them directly onto the table. Emma's face changed dramatically as she hurriedly reached for the photos, but Walker and her husband were quicker, already holding several in their hands, stared at me in disbelief. The old lady and Ethan were glaring at me with malice. Grace Adams, are you insane? Where did you get these things? I ignored Ethan's swords and instead looked at the old lady and Emma as I said, No wonder you wanted my son to call her mom. Turns out she's already rotten inside. Can't even bear children herself. Old lady, you're so kind to your son, forcing this worthless trash on him. The old lady was so furious with me that she was gasping for breath, cursing Ethan stop. This is the person you were so desperate to marry. What kind of trash? Divorce. Get a divorce right now. I shrugged fearlessly. Go ahead, I've wanted a divorce for a long time. It's just that your son doesn't agree. Ethan stood up and grabbed all the photos, saying angrily to Walker and his wife, Stop looking. Give me those photos. After collecting the photos, he glared at me and asked sharply, Where are you from? Does it matter? Grace, my patience has its limits. I'm giving you one last chance to apologize to Emma. I looked at him in this state and pulled out the hammer I had prepared from my bag. I asked him, What are you enduring? As soon as I finished speaking, I swung the hammer onto the table. The table's rotating tray was made of glass, and with that single strike, it shattered into pieces, sending glass fragments flying in all directions. The moment the tray shattered, chaotic and piercing screams erupted from the dining table. Everyone was in chaos. Only Emma, who had slumped into the chair earlier, reached out toward the shattered glass. I thought she was going to use it to harm herself, but to my surprise, she brought it to her mouth instead. The old woman exclaimed, "Quick, take it away, she's having another episode, get her to the hospital now." Ethan snatched the glass from Emma's hand. The glass cut his palm, yet he didn't even flinch. Holding Emma, I rushed out, with the old lady closely following behind. Only Walker, his wife, and I remained in the house. The couple looked at me with complicated expressions. I paid no further attention. In the chaotic old house, no one cared about Walkerchinchin anymore. I went to the living room and asked him, "Everyone is busy and can't look after you. Do you want to come with Mom? Are you really Mom?" Walker and gang entered the living room and frowned upon hearing this. "Walkerchinchin, what kind of talk is that? If she's not your mom, then who is? Then what about Davis' mom?" Walker's mind was filled with those photos, a flash of disgust passing through his eyes. "That's an auntie. You only have one mother. The one who gave birth to you, you little brat." I took Walkerchinchin away, probably because Emma was tied up with matters. Ethan never called me. No one asked about Walkerchinchin either. That day, after taking him out of the old house, I went to a car dealership and spent $300,000 to buy a motorcycle. I then took Walkerchinchin on a journey south, where we met a group of fellow riders and had a great time. Walkerchinchin was still just a 5-year-old child after all. After a few days of fun together, he became attached to me. Ethan contacted me when I had already reached a remote border town in the southwest. "Where are you? What's up? If you've agreed to sign the divorce papers." There are 2 copies in the study. On the other end of the line, Ethan remained silent. "Who's that person in your social media photos?" I wasn't sure which one he meant, since I'd posted quite a few photos after coming out. "The one standing behind you." I opened my social media feed and took a closer look. Among a pile of photos, there was a young man tilting his head, standing behind me with a radiant smile. In the picture, it was just the 2 of us, me with my voluminous red curls, fiery red lips, dressed in a rider's outfit, laughing freely and exuding sensuality. Gotta admit, this photo is quite a sight for sore eyes. "So, it's because of him that you want to divorce me, right? Even at the cost of using Emma as a stepping stone." Hearing this, I laughed in anger. "Ethan, even now, you still don't understand why I'm targeting Emma. How many times has she provoked me before, and did I ever do anything to her? As for this time, it was you and your mother who caused it. Who allowed a damsel to trample on me like that? Who allowed a damsel to make my son call her mom? Is she even worthy? Why am I even telling you this now, since you care so much about her? Hurry up and sign the papers so we can get divorced. Go find your happiness, and I'll live my own life." "Grace, I won't agree to a divorce." "Then you should calm down and think it over carefully." For a long time after that, Ethan did contact me. He didn't reach out to me again until a month and a half later. He called me, "Come back to get divorced." I shipped the motorcycle and flew back with Walkerchinchin. Ethan was waiting for me at home. The divorce agreement was on the coffee table. "Grace, you can't have custody of our son." I looked at him with determination in my eyes. "If you had signed the agreement that day, I might have considered giving you custody, but not now. I won't allow my son to have a stepmother like that." Ethan stood his ground and threatened me. "Even if we go to court, there's no guarantee you'll win custody." I smiled. "Will you sever ties with Emma?" Ethan remained silent. "Then how do you know I definitely won't win custody in court?" I smiled with certainty. Ethan had guessed that I still had something up my sleeve. "When did you become so what, calculating, or vicious?" "Ethan, you all forced me to become this way. Choose one." "Emma or Chen." Ethan took a deep breath and chose Emma. I couldn't quite describe the feeling in my heart, somewhat painful, yet also as if a weight had been lifted. Chen needs to go abroad for school. I have to respect the child's wishes. If he prefers the domestic learning environment, I'll go along with it. If he wants to study abroad, I can follow him there too. What's the issue?" Ethan looked at me with some surprise. I also quietly looked at him. Or perhaps Adams noticed there wasn't a trace of love left in my eyes. He picked up the divorce papers and walked upstairs to the study. After a while, he took it down again, handed it to me. "Sign here." I carefully reviewed all the terms. Besides cash, he also offered 5% of Walker family shares, but they were given to Walkerchinchin. There were also 2 overseas properties given to me, intended for us to live in if Walkerchinchin were to study abroad in the future. 2 domestic properties were also given. I have no objections and quickly signed the document. Ethan looked somewhat gloomy. I can see you're in a hurry. Didn't these 9 years leave even a trace of nostalgia in you? Aren't you sad at all? I gazed at him calmly. Countless nights you never knew about. I was in unbearable pain. Ethan, I just endured through it. Suddenly curious, I asked in return, were you sad? He stared fixedly at me, his eyes filled with an intensity one couldn't comprehend. Yet in the end, he remained silent for a long while. I took a copy of the divorce agreement, but since it's the weekend today, we can't go to get the divorce certificate. So I told Ethan, Monday, 9 a.m., I'll be waiting for you at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Ethan still didn't say anything. He picked up the glass in front of him and drained it in one gulp. I thought he heard and agreed, so I left. On Monday, I got up early and went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to call Ethan, but no one answered. I waited until all the staff had left work, but Ethanova showed up. I went to the house, but Ethan wasn't there. Then I went to Walker Group, where the assistant at the secretary's office said Ethan hadn't been to the company recently. After waiting for over half a month, Ethan still hadn't contacted me, and I couldn't reach him either. I contacted Walkerin and invited her for afternoon tea. I thought she would refuse, but unexpectedly, Walker agreed quite readily. After Walkerin sat down, I handed her the menu. I didn't know what you'd like to drink, so I haven't ordered yet. She took the menu and ordered an iced Americano. I thought you wouldn't come. I thought so too. After many years of marriage, my relationship with this sister-in-law was not good. We could say we had no personal connection at all. Without any extra pleasantries, I got straight to the point and asked, do you know Ethan's whereabouts? I can't reach him. We signed the divorce agreement and agreed to get the divorce certificate, but he's not answering my calls or replying to my messages. Walkerin looked at me, slightly frowning. You really don't have a shred of nostalgia or reluctance about this marriage of yours, but Ethan doesn't think so. When he married you, his family didn't agree. But he insisted on having no one but you. He once threw caution to the wind to run to you, so naturally he won't divorce you easily now. He loves you so much. I found it somewhat ironic, pulled out my phone and scrolled through Emma's social media feed, then handed it to Walkerin. Countless photos of her with Ethan were there, along with countless snippets of their daily life. Walkerin frowned after seeing them, then accessed Emma's feed on his own phone, but couldn't see any of it. I said, I know. It's only visible to me. This is her provocation against me. I don't actually mind her provocations, but after seeing it for so long, I started to feel like Ethan and her were the married couple. They go on business trips together, travel together, drink together, dance passionately together. Who wouldn't say childhood sweethearts are enviable? Walkerin remained silent for a long, long time, then took photos of several pages of Emma's social media posts with his phone. Emma's parents died saving my mom, so my mom treats Emma better than her own daughter. When she was a teenager, she confessed to Ethan and got rejected, so she went abroad, dated a guy who later abandoned her while she was pregnant, and then there was that incident you know about. If you hadn't brought this up, I would never have known. Ethan and my mom kept it completely hidden. After you left that day, Ethan said this was what he owed Emma, if he hadn't refused. Emma wouldn't have gotten into this mess. I let out a mocking laugh. If everyone in the world were like Miss Davis, wallowing in self-pity after a successful confession, then wouldn't everyone get what they want? This is just Ethan's excuse. Please help me pass a message to Ethan. If he doesn't take me to get our marriage certificate within 2 months, I'll file for divorce, and I'll hand Emma's video over to the media. Walkerin or Adams wanted to speak up for Emma, but stopped mid-sentence. Forget it, I'll pass on the message for you. Before leaving, I remembered Emma eating glass, and I asked Walkerin, Emma, which mental hospital does she live in? Walkerin seemed to think of something, then said somewhat disdainfully, recovering at home. After returning home, Walker sent me a message saying he had arrived safely. I replied with a thank you, but later, Ethan still didn't contact me. 2 months later, I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. The divorce case was scheduled for over half a year, and we dragged on for more than half a year. The first court session didn't result in a divorce, and the second one was already a year later. We had been separated for a long time when someone, I don't know who, sent me a video. It showed Ethan and Emma living together day and night, sharing their daily lives during our separation. We successfully got divorced. Ethan stopped me at the courthouse door. He demanded, "Where did you get that video? Grace, you really surprised me. You went to such lengths to get that video just for a divorce." I don't know how he managed to get so righteously angry. What is he furious about? Wasn't he happy during the time he spent living with Emma? Yet as I watched them in the video, pruning flowers together, mowing the lawn together, walking the dog together, they looked so harmonious. "Ethan, I saw in the video that you two got along well too. It's the 21st century, and the laws of our country don't allow a damsto enjoy the blessings of two women. Stop putting on this affectionate act, it disgusts me." As soon as I finished speaking, Ethan's expression cracked. I didn't look at him again and walked away. After getting the divorce certificate, I took AgoSecond and continued our trip, after so many years of marriage. I've never felt this light-hearted before. For the rest of my life, the world is my oyster. Ethan extra story. We got divorced. I was so reluctant to let her go, yet she left with such ease. That departing figure deeply wounded me. She kept pressing me step by step, and I had no choice but to sign the divorce agreement. I kept delaying getting the certificate, hoping for some reconciliation, but I never expected she would have a video of me taking care of Emma. It was achieved effortlessly. Back then, after Emma had the accident, she developed severe mental illness. After finally recovering and returning, she wanted to join the Walker family, and I couldn't refuse. This is what we owe her. She once told me that she would always see me as an older brother in this lifetime, and that she was just young and didn't understand things before. I took it to heart. Facing Grace's repeated jealousy, I grew quite annoyed. Later, I don't know when it started, Grace stopped being jealous and became less affectionate toward me, as if she no longer loved me. I used Emma, hoping Grace would see it. I always thought she hadn't seen it, until Walker brought back Emma's social media photos. I had no idea that Grace had seen them. She endured countless days and nights alone. During those countless days and nights, she slowly peeled me away from her heart, bit by bit. Now, she truly doesn't love me anymore. Suddenly, I panicked. Walker after and sent the message. I didn't have the courage to see her at all. By the time the divorce case went to court, I finally saw her. She had cut her hair short, no longer the long hair I used to love, and dyed it purple. The lawyer complimented her hair color, to which she cheerfully replied, "Really, my son likes this color, so I dyed it with him." There was no trace of sorrow on her face. Her eyes were filled with nothing but joy. It turns out, she was so happy after leaving me. After returning home, I investigated the video she had received. I tracked down the courier from that time, and based on the courier's description, I suspected it was Emma. After showing the courier her photo, he confirmed it was her. At that moment, I began to doubt whether Emma's mental illness was real. I flew to Country M and found the doctor who previously treated Emma, under threats and bribes. The man admitted to being bought off. He said Emma only had mild bipolar disorder, which was cured in no time. The one who bribed him was the old lady. After returning to China, I quietly removed the old lady from the board of directors. Walker Corporation was entirely under my control. Since she liked Emma so much, she could live with Emma from now on. Emma was crying and begging for my forgiveness, saying she simply loved me too much. How ironic. I video called my son. His purple hair looked somewhat rebellious yet enviable to me. "Where's your mom?" I asked him. He chuckled and flipped the video around. "I'm dating a handsome guy." The young man in the video was the same person from the earlier photo, braiding Grace's hair with flowers. It was so glaringly bright. I hung up the video call. My stomach hurts a bit. I got up and drove myself to the hospital. The doctor told me I have stomach cancer, and it's terminal. I called a lawyer, sorted out all my assets, and made a will, all left to Gracie and AgoSecond. On the 9th day of May 2024, I died. Grace brought Chen back to attend my funeral. Only after death did I realize I was the male lead in a sweet romance novel. The author says, "I should have been born for grace. Betraying grace will be my death. This is my fate. I accept this punishment. I just feel a bit reluctant, a bit regretful, because I still love her, and no one knows." Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.